Here's the scenario. It's a beautiful sunny day, but somewhere on the power grid there's a problem and you're about to lose power, and it could be out for several days. Now you're prepared, you have solar and Powerwall, but what's that going to look like? When you lose power, how is the system going to manage, and how are you going to charge your car? Let's find out. Now before we flip that switch, let's take a look at a few things here in the app. So if I go to Customize, you can see we're currently set to Advanced Time-Based Control Cost Savings with a reserve of 50%. Now what that means is the system will normally try to export as much energy as possible until that battery gets down to 50%. That way it makes me the most money, but it still keeps 50% available for an outage. If we scroll down to the bottom, we have a new setting here, vehicle charging during power outage. I currently have it set to 95%. What this allows you to do is charge your car from the Powerwall during an outage without draining the Powerwall. See, before, the car's battery is so much bigger than the Powerwall, it would just drain it completely out within a few hours. Now with this setting, it is mindful of the Powerwall and it won't drain it farther than you have it set. So for mine, 95%. If we go back to the main screen, you can see we're currently at 100% battery. We're generating 3.1 kilowatts of solar. Some of it's operating the house, most of it is going out to the grid. This is pretty much the ideal situation to lose power. I have a full battery, I have plenty of solar coming in, but there's a problem there. Think about that solar energy that's currently going out to the grid. Where's it gonna go if there's no more grid? The battery's fully charged, the house doesn't need it, so what's it gonna do? That's a problem that the power grid operators have to deal with every day, especially in places like California. We have so much power on the grid coming in from solar, there are some days where we don't have anywhere for it to go. So that's, in a small scale, exactly what this system is going to have to deal with. So we need one piece of information to really understand what's going on. You can see my laptop here, I have Home Assistant smart home software running, and it controls quite a few things in my house. But one of those things it connects to here is the Tesla gateway. So it can show pretty much the same thing as the app, but also additional information, like right below it, I have the frequency. And that's gonna be key to understand what the gateway and the Powerwall are doing to tell the solar what it needs to do. So we'll put this over in the corner of the screen and let it run so you can keep track as we do different things here. So all right, let's go, power's off. Saw a little bit of a flash in the room, but the Powerwall picks right up and we're still going. Now, if you notice, immediately solar power goes to essentially zero. Like I was saying, that power has nowhere to go right now. It can't go into the battery, it can't go out the grid. So Tesla's gateway tells the Powerwall, hey, we have a problem. The Powerwall ramps up the grid frequency. We're now at 65 hertz. And that tells the solar inverter, you have to shut down, we can't take your power. One more thing to note about this is that means the entire house right now is at 65 hertz. And not everything in the house is going to be happy with that. So if you have any uninterruptible power supplies, UPS units for like a computer in the house, it's going to see that as a grid problem and it's going to switch over to battery backup. So even though the Powerwall is supplying power to the house, those little UPS batteries are going to eventually run dead and those devices are going to shut down. So that's something to keep an eye out for. If you get in the situation of your Powerwall is fully charged and it has to turn off the solar inverter, those UPSs are going to be unhappy. So in an extended power outage, you may want to go ahead and just take those out and just power your computer or whatever directly from the wall. So here we are. We are running off the grid. Battery is supplying the house. Solar's off right now because there's really nowhere for it to go. It was making 3 kilowatts of solar and we just don't need that right now. So the battery is just going to discharge some as the house is using it up, and eventually it'll lower that grid frequency back down, and that'll give the inverter the signal that, hey, we can use some power again. It'll start back up, it'll charge the Powerwall back up, and that'll just cycle on and off throughout the day. Now when nighttime comes, no more solar, so you're just left on the battery. So it just depends if you have enough battery to run the house throughout the night, and hopefully in the morning sun comes back out, charges that battery back up, and then it starts cycling again. It kind of is a shame right now though that solar is just being wasted. Wouldn't it be nice if we could put it somewhere, like in our car? That's what this new feature allows us to do. It lets us charge the car without completely draining out the Powerwall. So let's go do that. All right, so we're here in the car ready to start charging, but my Wi-Fi dropped out. Like I was saying, the UPS that's connected to my Wi-Fi router saw that high frequency in the house, switched over to battery power, and then ran out of battery. So I had to go reconfigure some things, move that Wi-Fi router off of that UPS, and just run it straight off the Powerwall. So we got that going, and we're ready to start the car charging. You can see we're still in the same shape. Grid frequency is high. We have no solar coming in right now, and the Powerwall is supplying the house. So we want to put the car on the Powerwall, but there's a problem with that. See, my car is normally connected to a wall connector, and that one wall connector draws too much power for one Powerwall. So I have to use my mobile connector to connect the car if I want to charge off grid like this. And that's the way that I wanted them to install it. I did not want the car to be connected to the Powerwall. I wanted to have to manually move it over. So that's fine, but just something to consider. Another thing to consider is the car is capable of charging at 32 amps from that mobile connector. And that is also still too much for the Powerwall. So I need to come in here and manually set my charge current down to at least 20 amps. 20 amps is about 5 kilowatts, which is the maximum of the Powerwall. But that doesn't leave any room for the rest of the house to run off of it. If I started charging at that rate right now, it would trip the Powerwall off and everything would shut down. So I'm going to go ahead and lower it down to 16 amps. Now, once the solar comes on, I'll be able to raise that back up because we'll have solar plus the Powerwall. But we'll start with 16 right now. And we're going to watch and see what this frequency does whenever it sees that it actually can handle some more load. So start charging. Yep, go ahead and start. So it's showing 32 amps max available, but we're limiting it to 16 right now. All right, so the car's ramped up to 16, 17, 18 right now. And we'll see what the Powerwall and the gateway are doing here in just a second. Okay, so load power now is showing about 4 kilowatts. So that's the house plus the Powerwall, or the house plus the car, right? Grid frequency is lowering down now. So we're down to 60.9. Starting to get more in that normal range. 60.5. And we're starting to get in that range now of where the inverter is going to see, okay, frequency is not so high, I can turn on. But this inverter actually has a timer on it. It takes a few minutes to get started up. All right, we're below 60 hertz now. So definitely the inverter is going to be in its startup sequence. So looking at our battery power right now, we're at 4350. Watch what happens as we give this a few more amps. We'll go up to 19. So the car's now at, well, let's go back down a little bit. Go to 18. So the battery's currently at 5,000. So let's go down a little bit less than that. It can do 7,000 for a short period of time, but that's the limit really, is 5,000 before it trips off. All right, we're at 4620 on the battery right now, and that's probably as far as you really want to push it. The house, if it kicked on right now like a freezer or refrigerator, it would probably go over that 5,000. Now it'd be okay as long as it didn't go over 7,000 for 10 seconds, but you don't want to push it too far. You're managing the grid right now. I mean, this is what the utilities have to do every day. So it's kind of interesting. All right, I just heard some clicking in the garage, which is the sound of the inverter starting up. So we should see, no, there it is. So 2887 watts now coming in. Yep, there it is, 2.9 kilowatts showing coming in, going to the house. And the output of the battery just dropped down as well. So it's balancing, letting all the solar that wants to come in and run the house, and then just supplementing that from the battery. So that means we have some headroom now. Let's go ahead and add some more load onto that Powerwall. So I'm going to go up to 24 amps. It's interesting, it's not really adding anything on. Oh, we are at 95% on the battery though, so that's definitely what it is. It just hasn't shown the message yet. So there, even if I run this all the way up to the max of 32 amps, it will not charge any faster than 12, 13, 14 amps. And that's that new feature that we have now that keeps you from running the battery dead trying to charge the car. So it's just going to balance it here. Right now, that battery is showing 95% full, and we're only drawing about 1,000 watts out of it. That will continue to trickle down as it just charges the car directly from solar. So whatever solar is coming in, that's what it's going to let run the house and charge the car. And that's pretty cool. Battery power is down to 900 watts now. I expect this is just going to continue tapering down until it's just barely trickle charging the car, if not stops eventually. There it is, finally got the message. Vehicle charging with off-grid Powerwall. Charging rate adjusted to allow power sharing. Pretty cool. So here we are now with the Powerwall sitting at about 94%. It brings a little bit of power in from solar. It sends a little bit out to the house. But for the most part, it's just acting as a buffer. And it's going to let the car charge for as long as we still have solar available. Eventually, that solar will go down and the car will keep ramping down. Right now, we're at 9 to 11 amps. I know you can set it as low as 5 amps, so that's where I suspect it will eventually turn off, and then you'll just coast down the rest of the night. And hopefully you have enough Powerwall power to run the house throughout the night. The next day, solar comes out, Powerwall charges up, and then you'll have the ability to start your car charging again. So it's really a shame to lose that solar energy that you could otherwise collect. So this is a really nice feature to be able to do that. You know, it's really cool to me that this is kind of a micro version of what happens on the power grid every day. We have an organization in California called CalISO, and they have a website where you can see this happening. You can see the solar and natural gas and nuclear and hydro, power from other states. and they're using that to balance the grid on the entire of California. So pretty cool to see. I'll post a link in the description if you want to check it out. May not be that interesting to most people. It is to me because that's what I did my senior design project on. We balanced a power grid. So I hope this helps. You know, hopefully for most people, you won't have to get into this level of detail, but in an extended power outage, you'll probably run into some of these things. So hopefully this video will help you understand what's going on and what you need to do to get everything to play happily together. So if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. If we need to make another video, test out some other aspects of this, we can do it. So hope this helps. Till next time, thanks for watching.